What do you call a war fought by Africans, but funded, armed, and directed from foreign capitals? A civil war? No, that's not a civil war. That's a geopolitical haste. Sudan's current war is marketed as a power struggle between two generals. On one side, the Sudanese armed forces. On the other, the rapid support forces. But dig deeper and you will see the truth. This isn't about rival ambitions. It's about who gets to own Sudan from the shadows. And the shadow players, Iran, the UAE, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and yes, even Israel, each backing a side, each supplying arms, each angling for control over Red Sea access, Sudanese gold, or diplomatic leverage in Africa's northeast corridor. According to a report, over 13 million Sudanese have been displaced in just 1 year, the highest internal displacement in Africa today. But ask yourself, is this chaos accidental or is it being engineered? Iran is pumping drones into SAF hands. The UAE is flying weapons into RSF strongholds. Saudi Arabia is positioning itself as the peacemaker while funding the other side. Israel is lurking, watching Iran's every move. And Egypt, they are playing the night card. The African people see the war, but what they don't always see is the money behind it. This isn't just a war over territory, it's a war over future influence, over who controls African choke point, over who gets a military foothold along the Red Sea. The bullets are Sudanese, but the fingerprints on them aren't. And yet, as the region burns, the African Union watches, issuing statements with no teeth. This is not neutrality, it's negligence, and it's costing lives. In this episode of Frontline Africa, we tear through the headlines and go straight to the source, exposing Iran's silent expansion, the UAE's covered pipeline to militias, and the power games ripping Sudan apart. This isn't just war, it's the sale of African sovereignty behind smoke and mirrors. Next, we dive deep into how Iran turned Sudan's chaos into its own strategic opportunity. How does a heavily sanctioned country expand its military footprint in Africa without firing a shot? Simple. It looks for a broken state and offers help to fix it. In October 2023, Sudan quietly restored diplomatic ties with Iran. On the surface, it looked like normal diplomacy, but behind the curtains, a deal was already in motion. Weapons, drones, training, intelligence sharing, all flowing straight from Tehran to the Sudanese armed forces, not as a favor, but as an investment. Iran saw what the world ignored: a country in flames, a military desperate for international support, and a Red Sea coastline ripe for strategic control. While the West hesitated, Tehran moved. According to ADF magazine, Iran supplied SCF with drones, the same unmanned aircraft it has used to deadly effect in Syria and Yemen. These drones began appearing in Sudanese airspace during key SAF offensives, especially in Omdurman. Some of the SAF's new recruits, according to Jamestown Foundation, were even trained in Uganda under Iranian coordination. This isn't charity, this is chess. Tehran wants a naval base in Port Sudan, a permanent outpost on the Red Sea. From there, it can monitor the Suez Canal, pressure Israel's southern flank, and project power across East Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. A move like that doesn't just challenge Israel, it challenges Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and the entire Western military presence in the region. And Sudan's military, they are too desperate to say no. It's a familiar playbook. Iran did it in Lebanon, in Syria, and in Yemen. Now they are doing it in Sudan, not through full invasion, but through influence, training, and drone warfare. So while African leaders debate sovereignty at conferences, Iran is building influence one runway at a time. But this isn't a one-sided takeover, because in the opposite trench, another Gulf state is funding Iran's enemy, using gold, planes, and a brutal militia. Coming up next, how the UAE turned Sudan's blood into its business model. They said they were sending food, but what landed in Sudan were bullets, drones, and blood money. While Iran arms the Sudanese armed forces, the United Arab Emirates has chosen the other side, the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, and they haven't been shy about it. The RSF controls Sudan's gold fields, oil routes, and enough fighters to challenge a national army. But their strength isn't local, it's imported, and it's paid for in Dubai. Here's how it works. Gold mined by the RSF is smuggled out of Sudan through a shadow network, flown into the UAE, melted, laundered, and sold. That gold bankrolls weapons, drone shipments, and supplies. According to reports, the RSF has built a parallel economy worth hundreds of millions, fueled directly by this gold for guns operation. And the flight? That's where it gets worse. BBC Africa revealed that planes carrying humanitarian aid from the UAE landed in Amjaras, Chad. But when those planes were inspected, they weren't carrying food or medicine. They were packed with weapons, destined for RSF strongholds, disguised as charity, delivered as destruction. This isn't just foreign support, it's corporate warfare. The UAE sees Sudan as a logistic corridor, part of its wider ambition to control trade routes from the Red Sea to the Sahel. It wants ports, pipelines, and pliable warlords. And in Hameti, the RSF leader, they found their perfect client. He's anti-Islamist, open to Israel, and willing to sell Sudan's resources at a discount. To the Emirates, that's a bargain. But let's call it what it is. This is not support. This is exploitation. The UAE is not promoting peace. It's prolonging chaos, one armed shipment at a time. And the West, silent, because the UAE is a major arms buyer, a trade partner, and a diplomatic darling. But not everyone in the Gulf is on the same page, because their so-called brothers in Riyadh are backing the opposite side. And that silent rivalry is now spilling blood in Khartoum. Coming up next, we explore how the Saudi-Emirati alliance broke apart in Sudan and why it matters. They pray together in Mecca, but in Sudan, they arm different killers. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates like to present themselves as a united front, modern, stable, visionary Gulf monarchies. But behind the gold and skyscrapers lies a rivalry that they don't want you to see. And in Sudan, that quiet feud just turned violent. While the UAE funnels arms and gold to the RSF, Saudi Arabia is backing the Sudanese armed forces. Why? Because Riyadh values control, and chaos doesn't fit the brand. The RSF is unpredictable. Hameti has no structure, no discipline, and too much ambition. That's dangerous for business, dangerous for borders. So Saudi Arabia placed its bet on Burhan and the military. According to Al Jazeera, in March 2025, Burhan made an official visit to Riyadh, where he publicly thanked the kingdom for its support in preserving Sudanese unity. That wasn't just diplomacy, it was endorsement. And let's be real, this isn't about peace, it's about leverage. Saudi Arabia wants to counter the UAE's growing influence across Africa. They watch as Abu Dhabi carved out armed client states in Yemen, Libya, and the Horn of Africa. Now, Sudan is the next battlefield in a Gulf tug of war, one that could redraw the map of African alliances for years to come. And where is the African voice in all of this? Missing. Instead of calling it out, African institutions are being used to host peace summits with predetermined outcomes. Summits where the real decisions were made weeks before, in Gulf royal palaces and back channel meetings. Sudan is being torn between two visions of Gulf dominance, one that buys loyalty with weapons, and another that manipulates order through state structures. But this isn't just about the Gulf. Up north, another African power is watching closely, because if Sudan collapses, it's not just oil or gold at risk, it's the Nile. Coming up, we take a look at how Egypt is playing its own quiet game and why water may be the deadliest resource of all. You can lose soldiers and still survive, but lose the Nile and Egypt dies. Sudan's war isn't just making headlines in the Gulf, it's keeping generals awake in Cairo. Egypt isn't watching the Sudan crisis from a distance, it's calculating carefully, quietly, with one thing in mind: the Nile. For Egypt, the Nile is more than a river, it's life. 95% of Egyptians live along its banks, and Sudan sits directly upstream. That makes instability or collapse a matter of national survival. That's why Egypt leans towards the Sudanese armed forces. Historically, Cairo and Khartoum's militaries have worked hand in glove. They share intelligence, military training, and a joint vision of suppressing political Islam and preserving central control. According to Atlantic Council, Egypt has discreetly supplied weapons and logistical support to SAF through its southern border, carefully avoiding headlines but leaving no doubt where its loyalties lie. But Egypt's concern runs deeper than drones or desert skirmishes. It's the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or you can call it the JED. Ethiopia's mega dam project threatens to reduce the Nile's flow into both Sudan and Egypt. And if Sudan falls fully into RSF hands, or worse, becomes friendly with Addis Ababa, Cairo loses its southern buffer. That's a nightmare scenario. So Egypt plays the long game. It backs SAF not just to restore order, but to ensure that a pro-Egyptian regime survives. A regime that will resist Ethiopia's influence, protect Nile Agreement, and keep Sudan aligned with Egyptian interests. Publicly, Egypt offers mediation. Privately, it's securing its southern flank. And don't mistake their silence for weakness. Egypt knows this is a slow war. They will wait, fund, influence. But if Sudan tips in the wrong direction, Cairo will act. Because in the game of survival, water is power. And Egypt will not let anyone, not Ethiopia, not RSF, not foreign backers, threaten its hold on the Nile. But just as Egypt makes its moves in silence, Israel is preparing for something else entirely. A showdown with Iran that has nothing to do with Africa, but everything to do with what Iran is building in Sudan. Next, we'll look at how Sudan is becoming the new front line in the Iran-Israel shadow war. When Iran builds drone bases on the Red Sea, Tel Aviv doesn't wait for permission, it prepares for war. Sudan is quickly becoming more than just an African battlefield. It's now a fourth line in the Middle East's most dangerous rivalry, Iran versus Israel. And make no mistake, Israel is watching every move Tehran makes in Sudan, because what's at stake isn't just Sudanese sovereignty, it's Israel's southern flank. Let's rewind. Back in 2009 and 2012, Israel launched airstrikes inside Sudan. Why? To destroy Iranian weapons shipments en route to Hamas and Gaza. Sudan was Iran's backdoor, a key smuggling route. Israel shut it down with bombs, not bureaucracy. So when Iran renewed ties with the Sudanese armed forces in 2023 and began delivering drones, surveillance systems, and training, alarm bells rang in Tel Aviv. According to Minpress News, Israeli intelligence flagged Port Sudan, where Iran allegedly wants to build a permanent naval facility, as a red line threat to national security. Think about it. From Port Sudan, Iran can monitor maritime traffic through the Red Sea, threaten Israeli ports in Eilat, and support proxy operations from Africa's northeast to Yemen's western coast. That's not just encroachment, that's strategic entrenchment. And here's where it gets messy. The RSF, Iran's enemy in Sudan, has openly signaled it wants to normalize ties with Israel. General Hemedti has positioned himself as anti-Islamist, anti-Iran, and open to Western and Israeli influence. He's selling himself as a secular strongman, and in Israel playbook, that's a viable asset. So what happened next? Israel isn't going to let Iran establish a launch pad in its backyard, but it won't deploy troops either. This is a shadow war. Intelligence, sabotage, drone strikes, proxies. And Sudan, once again, is the battleground for a fight it didn't start. While the rest of the world debates diplomacy, Tel Aviv and Tehran are drawing maps in silence, and the Sudanese people, once again, caught between empires, missiles, and foreign agendas. Which brings us to the question no one's asking out loud. If foreign powers are shaping Sudan's future with bombs and bribes, who exactly does Sudan belong to anymore? Next, the final reckoning. The truth about Africa's lost sovereignty and the price Sudan is paying for global silence. If the drones are Iranian, the bullets are Emirati, and the silence is African, whose war is this, really? Let's drop all pretenses. Sudan is no longer in control of its own destiny. Its land is being carved up by foreign powers. Its skies are filled with drones it didn't build. Its gold is traded in foreign markets. Its government, both sides, are backed by outside forces who see Sudan not as a nation, but as a tool, a launchpad, a transaction. Iran wants a permanent base on the Red Sea. The UAE wants control of trade routes and resources. Saudi Arabia wants strategic influence. Egypt wants to protect the Nile. Israel wants to block Iran's advance. Everyone wants something, except the people dying in the streets. They want peace. But peace doesn't sell. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees reports confirm that over 8 million Sudanese have been displaced. That's not a statistics, that's a catastrophe. Cities are gone, children are starving, Women are being raped by militias found with foreign money. This isn't the cost of conflict. This is the price of abandonment. And where is Africa? The African Union issues statement. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development holds meetings. ECOWAS is watching from the sidelines. Meanwhile, foreign warplanes land, weapons move across borders, and entire provinces fall under the control of men who answer to powers outside the continent. Let's call it what it is. This is modern colonization by remote control. And Sudan is the test case, because if it works here, if the world let it happen, it will happen again. In the Sahel, in the Horn, in the Congo, anywhere foreign powers smell opportunity in our disunity. This isn't just about Sudan. It's about us, our continent, our sovereignty, our silence. And if we don't name the game being played in Sudanese soil, we will wake up tomorrow to find another African flag replaced with someone else's agenda. This is Frontline Africa, where we strip away the noise and speak power from the continent's point of view. If you stand for unfiltered truth and African sovereignty, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and stay with us. I am Ezekiel Enejeta. Until next time.